This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so welcome to Level 3, Lesson 1. And as always, everything that we're going to be talking about is for educational purposes only, and nothing is intended as any type of investment advice. Okay, so let's get started.
Good morning, Rich. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Can hear you loud and clear.
Great. Okay.
All right, so talk to me. What do we got
So-
going on? I wonder what stock you're going to pick.
I was just going to ask if I can use MVIS or not.
Yeah, of course you can. You're not going to not
Okay.
take a trade just because.
All right, yeah. Okay, then we're definitely going to use MVIS.
I mean, do you have something else?
No,
Yeah.
not something else that I prefer. So
Yeah, no, we'll let you. We'll make it easy on you. See, this is the thing. I need to tell you not to use it. It's the only trade that you have, so there's really not much of an option. All right, so let's go over what are you seeing?
okay, so I mean, you recapped it perfectly in the morning meeting, but we know yesterday's story, and although we still have to look at the prints from today to decide a trade, we definitely have to keep that 25 not pulling up in mind. But overall, what I'm seeing from the prints in terms of the controlling positions and the off level, our best trade is definitely a number 4 trade long.
Okay.
And then in terms of possibilities at the open, I think we definitely need to see a more substantial pullback because 22 never got that pullback.
Okay.
And if I was going to put a percent to those possibilities, and consolidation being one of them, I think it might be a little aggressive, but I think I have to put consolidation at 0%, especially at open.
I mean, anything can happen. I'd put a little bit higher than that, but
Okay.
yeah, pretty much the chances of it consolidating immediately are not very high.
Right.
Okay, so now when we talk about our possibilities, what's going on now? When we look at the stock, what is the market maker telling us? What do we see within retail that kind of gives us those percentages to add?
Okay, so we definitely see building going on right now. And so that would definitely be an increased percentage in terms of seeing a pullback first. But I also do think that there is a good chance we test 23 at open or maybe even see controlling prints there first because we still are getting off level buying coming in. So might be looking for a short-term push at open before pulling back. And that would also make sense to entice retail to get them in over 2250 and then bring it back.
Okay, so essentially there's two possibilities that we're looking for if we're going to draw the chart for the open. So now we know both of them. So if it pops up, we want to start looking. Do they give us building prints right away? Because essentially, does it have enough buying to just keep going?
It does.
It does, absolutely. So we want to see, are they getting the chance to build? Kind of. Now, down here, we got to think of something too, because we're using a story with a 2-day stock that, well, more than a 2-day story. But if we look at yesterday, did they have time to build yesterday for the stock to go up?
No. Oh, for the stock to cut.
Yeah. So do they have enough time to build yesterday if the stock is going up?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they did it for the entire day that's going into there. So we got to understand that even though there's not a ton of opportunity for it to build right now, it had an entire day that it had the opportunity to. So it's always something that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to, because is it possible, based off of everything we've seen, for this stock to just become an exception?
For sure.
Oh, no question. So we need to understand that. So when we're looking at this, it has enough. So there's basically two possibilities we're going to look for. Essentially, all of them start with a bar up or a movement up as we get closer into the market. But then do they come back? Are they going to come back down and build, or are they going to release this back towards that 25 level where they've never had the actual chance to build? Okay. But either way, so what percentage would you put on up? What percentage would you put down?
I'd put 70% up and 30%
70 up?
down.
Okay, I'm perfectly okay with that. So why so high up? Well, we just talked about it. They've had plenty of time to build. Okay, we know from yesterday. Where are our ask prints from yesterday?
Our ask prints are at 28.
At 28. Now, are we going to take that into account right now?
No, we can't. It's too far.
No, absolutely not. But, in the back of our mind, it's still a variable. It's still, we know that there is buying up there higher. So we want to consider. Yeah.
Okay, so if we come into open, we print huge ask at 23 that shows building. would it still make sense to only look for the number 4, or from there we can look for a pullback trade first? Because I think it might be just too quick, and it's better just to focus on taking it back long.
So right here, what you want to do is you want to look at the range. Technically, where does it need to pull back to?
Technically to 2150.
2150, right? Is that enough room to take a trade with it?
Yeah, that's plenty of room.
Yeah. So we would go into it. I'm never going to not take a trade. Okay. But we have to understand something, that if we get that bar down that shows us a number 1, we get that huge building, we just have to understand it's going to be quick. Okay. Or statistically speaking, it's going to be quick, because look at all these off-level buying prints that we have. Okay. A stock still needs to pull back. It's just that those prints are kind of giving us the time frame of what we're going to expect. So understand that you might have the full trade in just one bar, and then it comes right back.
Right.
Okay, but the reason that would be okay is because if you look at the range, that's a pretty big trade, if you get huge prints.
Absolutely.
I have no problem starting my morning off with a 30-second trade for over $1. No problem at all.
Right.
If it only needed to pull back to 22, now we're talking about getting a little bit close.
And we have that 2250 level, which can play games and.
Yep. Exactly. Is this number 1 on something as quick as this only for advanced traders? Yeah, well, I mean, you also want to definitely have your executions down, because, if a stock, even if it moves down in, 10 seconds and it moves down that $1, if you're not quick with your executions, you should just wait till the 4 trade comes in. Okay, but eventually you want to be able to get, where if a stock shows you it's going to move $1, I don't care how long it takes. $1's $1, no? And also too, you want to think about the amount of shares that would you use. Would you use a full position on the downside trade?
No, definitely less.
Yeah, less. Why? Because the real trade we're looking for is the opposite way. Okay, but we can still, but you would definitely, you wouldn't go into something like, let's say, for instance, if you're trading lot, you wouldn't be trying to trade 150,000 shares in that 10-second, time frame. Okay, but just a regular position, there's no problem, as long as you just understand that time frame is telling you that you'd probably have to get out quickly. Is 2150 pullback conservative? So not really. I mean, it's pretty much what the expectations would be, because that's kind of when we look at where it kind of started. We want to make sure. I mean, right here, this is where the real trigger is, right? We saw those beautiful off-level prints that came in here down 2140-ish. Okay, we built, and then we got that beautiful move up. So when we look, this is really where we want to see it hold. So technically, could it move another 20 cents? It could, but I wouldn't call 2150 conservative. Because, you got to think that if this is where the trigger started and this stock's going to run up today, do they want it going below that? No, because they showed us that this was money time. You know what I'm saying? So if it goes underneath that, then it's a whole new story. Now we got a whole new building. We got a whole something, completely different situation now. As in compared to if it holds here, we know the person that really started it is still there. If the person that started it is still there, the chances of building become less. If it goes below that, then now it's, like I said, it's a whole different story. Now the market maker's coming in showing us it's building time, money time is over. So we're not going to expect the quick move up. All right, so we got about 3 minutes. What should we be looking at right now?
Besides MVIS?
No. So in MVIS, what should we, because right now, we pretty much have our game plan, right? We got 3 minutes coming into the open. So what should we be looking at?
We should be looking at shorter term positions to indicate what their intentions are at the open.
Exactly. Absolutely.
And
giant controlling prints aren't going to be the best for us right now. We want to see what's the short term coming in. Are we still getting buying? Are we getting lopsided with selling?
And we definitely are still getting buying.
No question. Absolutely. We know the stock has the buying to get to 25. It's just, are they done building or are they not? So when the market opens, that bar is going to give us a great indication of exactly what we're looking for. And then obviously we want to get some type of, big prints that come into it, because then we could just form a game plan on those prints alone. But we still have to be ready. And you can see, we're still getting some real nice prints that are coming in here.
Yeah, and this whole way down, it's been buying.
All right, we know we need to pull back from 22. So because of how much buying there is, we're taking this bar as building bar, not as money time towards the downside, because it just, this is what it needed to do.
Right.
We have a minute left, and then once we get in the open, I'm going to leave it up to you.
All right.
Game show music. It's focus time, Keith.
Yeah, more nice positions coming in.
Mhm.
Okay, so just seeing if they do something here at 22 first.
Mhm.
So far has not hit it. Okay, got some bids there. It's still an order sitting there. So yeah, those bid prints there, I'd say are about at controlling print personality for what we've seen in the pre-market so far. And those bids can also be a catalyst for our trigger up.
No question.
So now I'm just looking for more of that off-level buying we saw in pre-market to come in. And I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a trigger up if we really get it.
Okay, this stands out big time right there.
Yeah, I like that. Those prints right there at 0.06.
Now, compared to what we were seeing going on in the pre-market, are we seeing as much buying right now once the market opened?
No, we're seeing less. They kind of step to the side. So that's an interesting position right there. I'm pretty sure that was hit on the ask, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so
what does that tell us about this move right now?
This pullback is definitely going to be very short term. And these are the 22 bids making their money, so they had to step in, and they're going to quickly make their money for that pullback. And there's the 2150 we were looking for our pullback in terms of the rules from pre-market. So right now and it didn't hit 2150 either. So this is showing a lot of good criteria for our setup in terms of going back long.
It is. So what should we be looking for right now? What do we want to see?
More buying like that 0.79, more off level coming in, and a release to the upside.
Did print personality get smaller at open? It absolutely did. And one of the interesting times where once the market opened, the stock is actually showing less than it did when the pre-market was there. But that also tells us that they were building a whole bunch. So they have a whole bunch of shares. Okay, now that same type of move that we looked for the downside. Okay,
so now we got ask at 22.
What about the ask at 22? When we look at those, what does that tell us?
Definitely going to need to build a little bit from those prints.
But a lot or a little bit?
No, not a lot at all, especially with the 21.99 we got. And I like that position a lot that just came in.
Okay, yeah. Well, that 21.99 was huge because that tells us a lot about our expectations of that level. And look at this. Isn't this amazing?
Yeah, so I think after that 22-28 printed, I think you can follow those in, even though it's that high a day. It's percentages are there, and we're off to the races.
Well, not for nothing, but it pushed into 2150 and it didn't hit and triggered up. Where should you have gotten in?
Yeah,
There's no
22,
question there, right? I mean, you even said 22.
Yeah.
It didn't show enough. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. There were prints there, but those 99 prints told us time frame.
Yeah,
So we know that it's not going to stay at that 20, at that 22 level for very long.
yeah. The 99 print said time frame, and the 22 bids said like quick moves to the downside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh
Okay.
man, isn't this so hard?
it's a beautiful trade.
I
So
mean,
we have-
picture perfect.
So we got some ask at 23 now, less than what we saw at 22. So honestly, I don't expect that to really build that much. But this volume bar that we just got seems to be very unsustainable.
So when we see something like that, start to look at time and sales. Time and sales, you want to start speeding up because what that's going to tell us is that it's going to be able to come close to being able to sustain that. Also look at time. It's 9:34.
Yeah.
If any bar is going to be able to sustain, it's going to be there right now at 4 minutes in.
Yeah,
At
I
least
see
get
that.
us close to there.
Yeah, this bar is actually going to be totally fine. So over 23, we got a reaction of 23.25 ask, and then the 23.38 all follow position. So everything right now is showing continuation, but now we have the 23.50 ask that came in. So
Yeah, so what should we do right now? Should we take some off?
yeah, we have to take some off right now
Why do we have to?
because 23.50 was the biggest controlling position we've seen so far.
Absolutely, no question. So
And,
that's telling us it doesn't mean we're taking off our whole trade, but we definitely have to limit some exposure at this point because there's also pushing past levels pretty quickly. It's a little bit of an exception.
Yeah.
But we
And,
also got to remember something too. Is this a smooth trading stock?
Yes.
Absolutely. So when we get those prints and they do show us building, is it going to be pretty or is it going to be, bar?
Bar.